Hi, my name is Juan, and welcome to The Couch, a podcast where real therapists talk about real things. Please remember that we are therapists, but we are not your therapists, and this podcast is intended for educational purposes only. Welcome, my friends. Today's episode, I'm excited about. It's about comparison. Comparing yourself to maybe where you want to be, right? Your future self. That sounds good to a degree. Comparing yourself to that neighbor that has that car or that house or that vacation home that you want, and then you notice that this type of comparison doesn't feel too good. Right? Today's episode is digging into that, digging into comparison. The pain of comparison, the growth. There is space within comparison that actually can be very helpful. And I find that in adulthood, comparison looks so different than what I remember my kids when they were a little bit younger. Maybe around that 3 to 5 year old range. I mean, they could be out there. My son, as an example, he would kick a soccer ball at 3 years old, 4 years old. He did not care if there was someone next to him kicking it faster, better, stronger, right? He was focused on him, focused on the joy in front of him, the growth in front of him. Something happens though, right? I mean, that's the reality. Something happens in life where we were exposed to certain things. Maybe we're exposed to a home that mom, right, parents, dad, someone says, you got to do better, right? Leaves you feeling that you're not good enough. So your whole life, you, to some degree, feel that you're stuck in a hole, pulling this rope that is supposed to get you out, yet you're going nowhere. That feeling of sinking in something that you look at and it's you, or you're sinking into yourself, yet you're lost. Comparison can hold this poison, this venom, and there is space within comparison where you do see someone and you go, man, that person just looks like they are in a space of calmness. I'd like to be there, right? So now we're actually comparing ourselves to this person. Yet here you go to this person and you say, hey, tell me about what you're doing. And they tell you about their yoga practice. And before you know it, you're doing yoga, right? And things are working out. So this is a different space of comparison. So I want to ask you a question. Have you ever looked at someone else's life, right? Someone else's life, and you're looking at them and you're thinking, why not me? Why am I not there? And please be honest here. I mean, you don't have to share this out loud with anyone near you, but be honest with yourself. I'll tell you, I have. And there's times that this still sinks in. There's what we see in the adult of keeping up. I think it's keeping up with the Jones. Is that the saying, right? And I think it could play to a degree of why not me, right? Maybe you have a certain degree. Maybe you've worked hard. Maybe you feel that you've done your good job, if you will. You've checked the right boxes, yet you are not where you think you should be. So then you ask yourself, why not me? Maybe it's this person that you're looking at and it's their relationship you want. Maybe it's their money that you want. Maybe it's their status, their confidence, their career. The list goes on. It goes on and on and on. Look, I've been a counselor for 10 years, and I'll tell you something that I'm really grounded in. I strongly believe that comparison is something we all do. I see it in all spaces of life. But there's some space in there. What if it doesn't always have to be all bad, right? And that's a core point of this episode, is looking at comparison and being able to identify that there is a space of chaos within it, and there's a space of growth. Comparison can either destroy you, right? And when I mean you, it can destroy your self-worth, or become, and listen closely, it can become one of your greatest tools for growth. Yes, you. Question is how, right? What do I need to do? What boxes do I got to jump over? Hurdles. So today we're going to break down some of these angles, some of these sides. That way you can move from this position of feeling stuck, right, to one of healthy lens of comparison. I think to a degree, comparison is rooted in maybe survival, human survival. I think about, just us way back, in the day, living in a cave, or early civilization, right? And what are we doing early on? We're doing social ranking. We're trying to belong. So I think to a degree, it creates that. And then, you look at now in life, social media. I think social media just amplifies this unrealistic level of comparison. You see someone on there and you're like, oh goodness, how can I have that? How can I do that? Right? This kid on there is 12 years old and they've got 3 Lamborghinis. Right? I'm in my 40s. I got multiple degrees and I'm trying to get my Honda to turn on this morning. Shit, what went wrong? Right? Social media pushes you into that mentality, thinking through that. Our brain is wired to scan. And it scans for not just similarities, it scans for differences too. Right? So look, your brain is not broken. If you're out there comparing, it's not because your brain is broken. Right? Your brain's not broken, my brain's not broken. It's doing what it's supposed to do. It's scanning. It's scanning for differences, it's scanning for similarities. So to a degree, it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now, here's kind of like the interesting point. I'm not really sure if our brain was designed for like TikTok or for different social media channels. Just so much of the life that we're living today, I'm not quite sure it was designed for that. Makes you think a little bit, right? There's some signs that are really important that help us understand where we're at with comparison. Right? If the question becomes, am I comparing in a way that's hurtful to me? I think these are the signs that, bring light to that. One is you feel behind in life. You're always feeling behind. Another is you start questioning your growth. You start questioning your worth. You feel anxious. That's another one there. You feel depressed. That's another one. You feel stuck. And they could be interconnected, right? It could be that you question your worth, and that leads to you feeling anxious, you feeling depressed, you feeling stuck. Right? Your progress. What do you do to your progress? You minimize it. That's another sign. So then what happens is when you're doing these things, when you feel behind all the time, when you minimize yourself, when you're questioning your own worth, right? Comparison activates these buttons within us. And one of those buttons is the button of shame. Another button is the button of low self-esteem. Another button is the imposter syndrome, right? That's a popular word these days, the imposter syndrome. I want you to think about a working person in your area, right? You got Bob out there, working professional. Bob's at night, he's scrolling through the phone. A lot of us do that, don't we? And we try to work on it. Another episode, we'll go into that. Bob's scrolling, and he's seeing other people's lives, right? This dude's seeing people buy homes, travel, getting promotions and shit. Just, he thinks to himself, man, what's going on here? Bob thinks to himself, I'm just trying to get through the week. Right? There's a gap there that he's experiencing. The gap between where am I right now and where are they? And that gap, I'm going to say it again. The gap between where am I? I want you to maybe even write that down. Where am I? Put some space in between it. Where are they? Right? Or where they are. And then, for Bob, that gap is pain. Right? So this is where comparison can, you can really see it in front of you as pain. Comparison, the other lens of it, right? The healthy lens. Comparison can be a space of differentiating yourself. right? You being unique, inspiration instead of insecurity, right? Learning instead of judging, direction instead of discouragement, right? These are all three opportunities for healthy comparison. So if I use that as a tool, right, I'm really thinking about here, instead of why am I not like them? Why am I not like them, right? That is a comparison statement that can right away just turn on that button of shame, of insecurity, of low worth. I want to change that to what can I learn from them, right? And if you notice that, right, that difference there, if you notice that what's happening is you're allowing yourself to play with inspiration instead of insecurity. You're allowing yourself to play with learning instead of judgment. You're allowing yourself to play with direction instead of discouragement. So if we play with this an example, right, you got someone, we'll say Bob's in a healthy relationship. Instead of feeling less than, right, ask what are they doing, right? You see Bob, he's in a healthy relationship, and yours maybe is struggling. You think about what are they doing that I can start practicing, right? Because that kind of statement, it helps you to remove the judgment, remove the discouragement, remove the insecurity, and look at inspiration, learning, direction. And that's what I want you to walk away with from this episode. Now, look, we could have talked about so many aspects of comparison. My goal is that you were able to kind of have an aha moment of where am I leaning? Am I leaning to a comparison that is slowly chipping away at my worth, at who I am? Or am I leaning away to a comparison that's allowing me to have inspiration, learning, direction? I believe in you, right? You have the strength. Pull resources in, pull tools in to go from stuck to unstuck. I appreciate you listening. Leave some nice stars there on the podcast. It's a good way to keep pushing this into the community and get more listeners. I strongly believe that resources like this and others are how we support our community, connect our community. My name is Dr. Santos. I appreciate you listening. If you are in the local area looking for counseling support, reach out to Santos Counseling. I'll see you in the next episode.